I can fly up. Dad, is this cheating? Look.
Driver kill. Extra health awarded. Special weapon has regenerated. Crimson Fury destroyed.
All right, guys, so check this out. So today we're actually going to play Twisted Meadow. Unfortunately, the online servers are no longer operating after 2019 or whatever in January, but I figured we'll go ahead, we're going to kick back and do a little father and son session. We're going to play some Twisted Metal. This was a game that little man's been wanting to play, so we're about to do that, as you can see. And yeah, we're about to get started onto this game, guys. So give me just a moment here and let me get some last minute preparations, and then we're going to go ahead and kick that off. First of all, you know, if you guys don't know what Twisted Metal is and you have any questions, feel free to ask. Me and Little Man, we played quite a bit of them, I would say, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay, so first of all, let's make sure we got your controller set up. Does your controller work there, buddy? All right, guys, give me 1 second. Well, probably not yet. Let me multiplayer here real quick. Try now.
Oh, offline cooperative. First one.
Why do I have headphones on and all the sounds coming off my monitor? All right, guys, let's just hope that the second controller actually works. Give me 1 second.
Manipulation, mind reading. Oh, he has many powers. Why, he can even raise the dead. And once spawned, they are forever loyal to Calypso. But this year, I will
See, they can't even hear the TV, which is cool when I'm talking.
listen. Every year this time, I got people calling in with his bull. No! You must believe Calypso is the reason for all the violence. He is the devil. I do agree with him on one thing. It's bad out there, folks. Real bad. But I got a solution. Stay in tonight and lock your doors.
Lock your doors.
Now what's this? Daddy, it's a dead person.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That her? We find her?
No, just more trash on the side of the road.
Watch them take me down for all the blood. Forgot Twisted Metal is could
Looks
be.
like Calypso's got himself
Say what? A PS4? What's up, Thomas?
contest.
What's up, Jay? Guys, thanks for coming in, everybody. I really appreciate it. What happened?
She was the one. She was the only one. There have been so many people I've killed over the years. But her, she was the only one who ever escaped. She was the one that got away. I don't blame myself. They were my first murders.
Thank you, Poor Jig Zero. Shout out to Poor Jig Zero, guys, coming in with the 500 cheers. You're awesome.
She didn't make
Make sure you guys are following.
it easy. I had saved her for last. And I toyed with her. I teased her. Oh, she was delightful.
Imagine a man like that breaking into your home, guys.
But she was a fighter. That stupid bitch. She
Ooh.
actually hurt me.
I think she was trying to tell him to cut it out.
That's how she managed to escape.
Ow! He tore it out like nothing.
Oh, he don't care. He's...
And that
Thank you, Thomas.
damned picture.
Oh, boy.
How many years has that been? And I still think about her.
So she was a little girl when she escaped.
Her screams. And her death.
She was a little girl when she escaped, and then when she was adult, she's...
Then I'll shut
I think
her
he
in
just
my
killed her on the
ice
roadside.
box, and we'll be together forever.
He wants to be with her?
Just have to win Calypso's stupid little contest, and any prize I ask for will be mine. Calypso. They say he has many powers.
At least they brought back the original Calypso. Because remember Twisted Metal Black? They brought some bald dude.
Where she's been
I didn't like him that much. He didn't look that cool.
years. And
Remember, he was just some bald dude that was like
I'm
this?
going to finish what I
In the
started.
original, he was like this. Her head in my icebox.
This time.
Wait, can you guys hear the game or no?
He actually hurt him.
Quick audio test here real quick, guys. Yeah, they can hear. Really soft though, so you guys only hear me really soft, is that what you're saying? But the game is kind of loud. Hold on, buddy, hold on. Hold on, don't rush. We're not in a rush. We're a live stream. We're not like a YouTube recorded video or anything. Guys, give me 1 second. Okay, so Thomas can hear me, you can hear me. Alright, first of all, I'm gonna mute the in-game audio. We're gonna do a little audio test just to see if you guys can hear me. 1, 2, 3. The game volume is going to be on, and then we're gonna test again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you guys should be able to hear just fine. From what I'm seeing.
Daddy, look, this is cool. X, choose a primary vehicle and 2 alternate vehicles.
Oh, the game is soft. Yeah, don't remind me, Jem. Don't remind me. I don't have the crisp thingy working on the speakers though, so we should be good. It should only be messing with my microphone.
Daddy,
Yeah.
this is cool. Next, choose a primary vehicle and 2 alternate vehicles for your garage. When your health gets low, look for the wrench icon on the radar. Drive through the garage door to switch vehicles. Vehicles in the garage recharge their health. You hear me?
Okay, so first of all, do you guys hear right here? I'm gonna check over here just to see what we sound like, guys. Give me one. Okay, the game volume is going down quite a bit. I see what you guys are saying. All right, give me one moment here. That might be. Testing, 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 testing. All right, let me know if that's any better for you guys.
Alternate vehicles for your garage. When your health gets low, look for the wrench icon on the radar. Drive through the garage door to switch vehicles. Vehicles in the garage regenerate their health.
Okay.
Now you pick. Oh!
Oh, okay. We got our own cars.
Oh wait! Outlaw. Axel.
All right, so hopefully you guys can hear the game a little better and everything. I'm not sure.
Junkyard dog. Daddy.
I gotta figure out what the heck is going on here. You got Nightclub on GTA? Nice. I hate Windows Sense so much. I installed something new and it wants me to reactivate Windows. Ouch. No, Thomas, you can't, bro. All right, well, we're gonna test it like this. If it becomes a do you still get your phone? Oh wait, I wonder if it's let's... Yeah.
Daddy. You know what I got?
What?
I got Axel and Outlaw. That means you have to pick the rest.
All the enhancements are all, so we should be fine. The levels are up high. We should be good. All right.
Daddy, I'm selecting Outlaw.
Oh, that sucks, Jay. So you got Outlaw, so we got to select 3 each of us?
No, we only get 2.
All right, so we got Outlaw and Axel.
Yep. That means I know you're gonna pick Sweet.
We're gonna do Sweet Tooth.
And what else? If you can't do Axel, you can't do Outlaw.
I'll do Sweet Tooth again.
Can't do Axel or Outlaw. Darn got you.
How many cars is that?
You have to have Junkyard Dog, Road Boat, or Death Warrant.
I think we're gonna go ahead and do Death Warrant. So we got mounted guns.
That's
Oh, that's it.
Sun Springs, California.
Really?
Sweet.
You have to earn a trophy
My
old
name
school.
is Calypso.
Oh snap!
Welcome to my contest. Welcome to Twisted Metal. This is Sun
Bro looks
Springs,
alive.
California. Your first battleground. Quaint, all-American, peaceful, destructible. To win and advance to the next event, simply destroy all other contestants.
Oh, there's a garage.
The green wrench on your radar will guide you to your garage. When death is
He's
near,
only got a nice bicycle there. Is that Mr. Grimm? Wait, that's our garage.
Yeah, we can regenerate our car's
we'll
health.
find
if
one
it's
of
low.
my active health trucks for full regeneration.
That's just Juggernaut.
Good luck, sweet.
That's Calypso's trucks.
Survive this, and you're one step closer to your dream.
Okay. Whoa! I got my own guy on top.
How do we do this? What's the buttons?
I don't know. I can't drive.
That guy's weird.
I can't drive.
Oh, you gotta use you gotta hold square. Yeah.
Whoa! Shoot, my turn. Hey, look, I got a turn on top.
Okay. All right. Don't screech too much here. I'm right in my ear. All right. I gotta figure out.
Special available.
What is going on here, guys? This level's pretty big. Yo, this guy is on my bootay. How do I go backwards?
Woo! I like this twist metal. Yeah!
I go backwards. Yo, hold on. This game plays a lot of copyright music. That's Ice Cube. Hold on a second. How do I turn this off? I like the music, guys. I do. But we're gonna get copyrighted hardcore. I don't even care.
Ice Cube's gonna come and be like,
Yeah.
you put my song on your show, you get the money from your ad. I get the money from your.
Look, you already know. Yeah, right. Woo!
Alright, Daddy, ready?
Huh?
Ready?
All right, guys. Yep. Yeah, I'm on the PlayStation right now, Thomas.
My guy has a clown on top,
Oh yeah.
and he has a turn. He goes.
All right, guys. Here we go.
Ready?
Ice Cube's gonna come slap you with some ice cubes. Jim cracks me up.
Daddy, you know what he's gonna do? Put ice cubes on your shirt.
Yeah. Dude, how do I go backwards? Hey, stop yelling so much. How do I go backwards? Oh, okay. This button.
Look at my car, Daddy.
I don't get it. Why is my controls so weird? Alright, so I have a shotgun. What the heck do I do with that? Oh, dark side, okay.
Hey, dark side over here.
Oh, what the? What am I supposed to do here? I can't move?
Daddy, good luck with Death Warrant and Christmas.
Dude, the AI is all over the place. What's my,
Here, Death Warrant. Daddy, your friends are here.
Sweet Tooth shoots his ice heads or his flaming heads again? I don't get it. Where's my shooting button? I can't shoot him.
This button.
Oh. Okay. What about
Peak. Don't get our dog. Come on, Junkyard Dog.
I don't understand Sweet Tooth. He's weird. I don't understand these controls, guys. This is all completely new to me. First, let's get a hold of Darkseid. I'm just gonna go ahead and homie miss them. Okay, you got the game. Yes.
Darkseid destroyed. 5
Yeah.
left. Special weapon available.
The garage. What do I do here?
Like Death Warrant.
Oh, we share cars. Oh.
Hey, no. You ain't picking Axel.
Jimmy fired.
Axel and freaking.
Yeah. I did add you back on PlayStation, Thomas. What?
Let's get one thing straight. You don't pick my car.
All right, let's go.
Fine. You have Death Warrant.
All right. Go ahead. Move in my car.
Me too. Oh wow!
Oh!
I flamethrowed him. Look how many she. Hold up.
I think I'm getting used to the buttons now, but it's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Outlaw? I just did a combo with Outlaw. I set Warhawk
Wow.
on fire and did a minigun on him. Now give me a high five. High five. I just flamethrowed Warthog and machine gun him.
Wait, hold on. It's weird to know how. Wait, it's it's weird to happen. I recognize a few names, yet they say they have no current servers. Oh, you mean like in the game? Oh, so you got somebody helping you too on there?
Yeah. I got someone on my side.
Dude, where are you at? How did you get over there? Oh, I'm coming. Oh, how do we use turbo? Oh! How dare you! You know what, Reaper? You got a thing coming, bro.
Come on, Junkyard Dog.
This AI is not playing around.
3 opponents left.
Here's this guy.
don't know.
So what's triangle for my special ability?
I don't know, whatever it is. Oh! What was that?
That was me. I just came by. Woo! How do you turbo?
I think you just hit double hit square. Oh gosh. Oh, there's those Calypso's trucks.
Get that tank turbo.
Yeah, but why is he? I can't get out of the fire. Oh, this truck moves you around quick.
Yeah, jump up. See how overpowered my guy is? He
Yeah.
can shoot mid.
Little man, you're screaming.
Special weapon is regenerated.
Oh, junkyard dog, really? That's a dude.
Junkyard dog.
Ooh, wait! I see him running. Help!
Driver killed. Extra health awarded.
Like what? Right, Grissom Fury. That name is familiar to me. He's a streamer. No, Grissom Fury is actually one of the characters in the game. No high fives allowed, right? Social distancing, guys. Ugh.
Weapon available.
My special weapon's my turn.
Dude.
I'm faster than Crimson Fury.
Yeah, how many people are left?
One. Crimson Fury.
Let's get him. He ran away. Oh! Oh!
Oh, I have to bash my buttons to restart my engine.
It's the Calypso truck again. Gee, oh, the lag was real.
You bastard. Yeah, but
Ooh.
look at my missile thing. I gotta get up.
Yeah, so it definitely got that story mode. I would like the new submachine gun. So we
No,
can
that's
change.
for that guy up there. Clown.
Oh,
Your clown uses it. That's your special ability.
also a streamer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a very popular name.
It like saves it automatically.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. It's saving system data. Ooh, hold on. Before we start the next level, let me check something.
Has to do one.
All right, let's go and try this again, guys. Oh,
The death map, Colosseum.
we do just pick our characters again. Let's pick the same ones.
Well,
Oh, submachine gun.
submachine gun, boy. Oh, Colosseum.
Black Rock Stadium. I
That's
have
what
to
it's gonna be
tell you,
minion. Because look at this
this is
stage.
just between you and I.
Oh boy.
I designed this arena to bring about the greatest loss of life in the shortest amount of time. It's like a slaughterhouse. but
What?
For people.
Reaper.
I'm actually
Dark
quite
side.
proud of
Look at
it.
his top. Full face.
Yes.
Now, if you want to survive, beware the traps. And beware of the dangers. And be ready for the layout to change lickety-split. I love that term.
The map changes, I
Now,
think.
Sweet Tooth, there is a garage here if you get low on health. But know there are other ways to stay alive in Black Rock. Destroy all enemies, Sweet Tooth. It's the only way for you to win.
Oh, get it. Oh, here we go.
Wait, you gotta defeat me?
No, we gotta defeat the other players. All right, let's do this.
Come on, Axel and Crimson Fury, I got you. Wait, you gotta be careful. Remember traps.
Yeah, true.
The traps. You can't go too fast.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth sucks at turning.
Oh!
well, I'm gonna go ahead and try it. Oh, what is that? Oh, so man, Sweet Tooth really sucks at turning.
What's this?
We gotta find a way to play this online. Yeah, I know, bro. This is like, I've always wanted to play this, man. Never could because, you know.
Dad, you can't. Online servers are off.
Oh no!
No, I'll stay with Outlaw.
But yeah, that would be awesome though, right? I mean, there's land play. I'm sure there's got to be a way. Oh, I see the level raising. Look at the grounds.
What? Hey, I'm gonna try doing the death course. Ready? Ready to see me do this death course, Daddy?
Go ahead and do it. You don't have to yell it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about the submachine gun so much. I'm not really digging this submachine gun.
All the enemies are by you?
Shit.
Oh, yeah.
Why did he transform out of the robot? Like, how come I can't stay? Yeah, I don't like this submachine gun too much. Maybe it does more damage. I don't know, but I'm not really feeling.
Shadow destroyed.
Okay.
5 opponents left.
Oh, Shadow! Hello. Health.
Driver killed. Extra health awarded.
Ooh, look at all the electricity around now.
Yeah, very true.
This map is dangerous. Let's get out of here. Wow. Team Reaper over here knocking me on my side.
I got your back. Oh!
I got dark side. Okay?
Yeah.
You get the rest, I get dark.
So the gun's kind of aim.
Special weapon has regenerated.
Come on, dark side. Wow, dark side's able to run through the freaking,
Oh my god, the AI is running away from me. And he got away.
Hey, dark side's dead.
Dark side destroyed. Driver killed.
Yeah, there is kind of a way. I mean, I just don't know in particular, like, so much with this one. But that's...
Kill
Special.
Outlaw, man. Outlaw is out of the law. You
Right?
don't go by law.
Seriously?
Yep. Oh. Oh! Hey, we literally can't see.
I think there's a way to... Oh. Just hit the select button.
This is so much better.
Yeah.
This map it is. Woo!
Oh, that did some damage.
Oh, shoot Axel!
Crimson Fury destroyed. 3 opponents left.
Oh, they about to get smushed?
Daddy, Axel just got smushed. Wait, is he still alive?
I think so, but you better get out of there.
Me-Wagon's alive.
Yeah, the driving in this game is way different, guys.
Hey,
Wait, what the?
Herman's hitting you with a laser. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Mash buttons to restart your engine. Hey, I got Me-Wagon.
Oh, you hit down on the D-pad to shoot backwards.
Destroyed.
What's
1
this?
enemy remains.
RC car?
No, it's a freaking Me-Wagon.
Oh, my
Killed. Extra health awarded.
Hey, we're doing good.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, I got Me-Wagon. Okay?
Whoa! Yeah, I'm falling. Oh.
We both fell.
The items are definitely small in this game, but distinguishable.
Special weapon back online.
Oh my gosh. I'm not sure, Thomas. It depends. We have some possibility of multiplayer depending on how we do today on the stream. If not, I'll probably just do like a single player campaign game or something. We'll see.
What do you mean? You're already doing multiplayer.
No, I know, but this is us. I mean, like, online with the stream. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I'll keep you guys posted.
Special available.
He's doing really good, man. Really good. Where'd he go? Where is he?
He's all around. He's all the way over here. I need to get past this death course. I survived the death course.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my
I just
god.
went straight through without looking and I survived. Meat wagon's down here.
There he is. Oh!
Hold on.
You have won the battle.
There we go. We did it! Yeah, buddy.
Hey, shush.
Who's that?
We get Reaper.
Oh.
We get Reaper. You have unlocked Reaper.
Yay.
You just get bikes by playing. You didn't even have to defeat them.
Well, at least it ain't hard. Like, remember the other one? You had to, like, go to, like, some sort of portal and defeat a certain enemy and do a mini game in a certain amount of time.
This game, you just have to play rounds and earn them. Wait. Oh.
Oh, yeah, you did. There you go, Jay. Okay.
Daddy?
Okay.
Electric Cage Match. Metro Square.
Oh. I'll have to get serious now, guys.
Daddy, you know who I'm
I
going.
think I'm gonna go back to the mountain guns. I'm not really feeling those SMGs as much, guys. I mean, the mountain guns I don't think did as much damage, but oh good. Jay, we're gonna have to talk about that, bro.
Daddy, I chose Reaper and Outlaw.
Okay.
Do you like the holidays, Sweet Tooth?
That's his workshop.
I love to see the people so happy, so excited.
This Calypso?
Because when they die violently, they're so surprised.
Yep, that's
Am
Calypso.
I right? No one expects to die on Christmas. Oh, and this year, I've added something new, just to shake things up a bit. The electric cage. Stay inside the cage when it's active, Sweet Tooth. And if you leave the cage, your grace period drains. And if you're out of grace and you drive outside the cage, well, best not to think of such things.
You're gonna die.
We have to stay inside the cage, but where's the cage? Maybe it's like some kind of field. Oh, well, I see the cage. The green wall. Okay.
Look, I can literally just throw stuff at you.
Look at this traffic.
Special weapon back online.
Maybe this map wasn't so good to pick freaking.
Is the level moving or something? Because it feels like.
You
What happens when you're out there?
outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Oh, you got 30. Wait, what?
The cage is about to move.
Oh, the cage is gonna move.
You have to stay inside the cage.
Yeah.
Cage has moved to another location.
Okay, where's the new cage?
Where? The enemies know where it is. Follow the enemies and you'll find the cage.
Right, true. Very true, very true.
Ah,
Special available.
I see the cage up ahead. Look at the rat, see?
I'm already in it.
You're in it. Oh.
I just followed the enemies. Wow, busted through a window.
Okay, this outlaw? Point blank damage? Jeez.
I'm the only one and only outlaw. Oh, guys, there's just health laying all over. Nice. Wow! Look, Darkseid knocked me all the way in here.
The cage has moved to another location.
Thank God.
Location.
What is the key?
Why am I seeing like this car do like a wheelie or something?
Now you have to use your boot.
Yeah. Yeah, this Sweet Tooth is very slow. He's not that good in this one like the other ones.
You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Wait, left stick to do a wheelie.
outside the cage.
Oh, look, the turbo is your grace. Oh, look at Outlaw. Outlaw, so weak. Wow, Deathborn.
About to move.
Wow.
Outlaw destroyed. 5 opponents.
Goodbye, Outlaw.
Oh, the cage is up there.
Oh shoot, well, then we better get over there.
Bye. Wow, this guy dropped mine. Oh, bye.
Look at the whole AI just moving.
Hey, the bottom is your grace. Look how much grace I have left.
Okay, I'm in the cage. Oh, I see. It's green on the map too. Okay.
The cage. Grace period initiated.
I need help. Oh. There's no freaking robot.
Yeah, but I only get the.
You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Yeah, but I don't know. Can't shoot this guy. Oh, we're on the ice. No wonder we're moving the way we are.
I destroy wall hard.
Destroyed.
Oh, the ice, man. The ice drives me crazy.
The cage has moved to another location.
Another location.
Hey, follow the enemies and you'll find the freaking, my grace is low.
Dark
Bye,
side.
dark side.
Destroyed. 3 opponents left.
I think the cage is gonna be this, so we're gonna follow the AI.
Why are you trying to shoot me? You're actually killing me.
I'm shooting next to you.
Special weapon has regenerated. Grace period expires in 10 seconds.
Fine.
Return to the cage or you will start taking damage. Return to the cage or you will begin taking damage. Return
heck?
to the cage or you will start taking damage.
Well, that's you, not me. I ain't affected.
Why?
My grace is all the way down. Yours isn't.
I'm getting in the cage.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, they locked me out here. Ooh. Get in the cage or you will start getting damage. Wow, that's so mean. Oh, goodbye. At least we did the strong. Oh,
2 opponents left.
Woo, I'm outside.
The cage is about to move. Gunner
again already? Wow, skating time, right?
Cage has moved to another location.
What?
Special weapon back online. Grace period expires in 30 seconds.
Why am I getting damage?
I ain't.
Your grace period's what's killing me.
Mine?
Yeah.
In a garage to
Oh.
Grace period expires in 10 seconds. Return to the cage, or you will begin taking damage.
Then all we got is junkyard left. I'm driving too
You are
fast.
outside the cage.
Why am I outside the cage?
Initiated.
Where's the Fury at?
The cage
no.
is about to move.
Oh no!
4 moving cages.
Return to the cage. You are losing health. Return to the cage, or you will start taking damage.
The heck? Why do I take damage right away?
I'm out of the cage too, it says.
Oh shoot.
Hey, we're both about to die.
I know, we gotta book it out of here.
You're about to die.
Yes, I am.
Special weapon available.
Big trouble.
You are about to die. Return to the cage.
No!
Lost the
I died.
battle.
How'd you die?
I,
Oh man, like there was the Calypso check. Oh, you gotta stay in the ring, see? Try again? Yeah, that's all we can do. Oh, we gotta do all the enemies again. They take a long time to die, guys. What?
Do you like the holidays, sweet tooth?
you just skip it.
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah. Alright, let's go, guys. What are you doing?
I have to go to the garage. Myself? Where's the garage? Where's the garage? Where's the garage?
Oh, dude.
Oh, the garage is over here.
I can't change my camera. There we go. I don't like they shoot me way so much. And look, they're only at the. What do you do now? Oh my god, this kid. I wish I just like went on your screen. I keep playing. Okay,
The
get these guys out of
cage
here.
is about to move.
I'm out of the cage already.
Yep, get ready for the new cage.
Special weapon is rejected.
I know where the new cage is already. So
God, I can't move. Yeah, so we got to get to the cage quick when it changes, so we don't lose grace period. Oh my god, who the heck is shooting me? Oh dear gosh, you need to really cool it.
You are outside the cage.
How are you outside the cage?
Initiate.
I fall out.
Okay. You know what, we need some items. Get some items. We're gonna need everything we
Cage
can.
is
Get ready for
about
it.
to move.
Moving again already.
The cage has moved.
Follow
There we go.
these, and you fall, and you'll find the cage.
It's this way.
Cage is back.
Yep, see, there we go.
Special weapon available. We're outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Well, I don't think we have,
The cage. Grace period initiated.
oh my god, some of the, oh, he's not gonna be out of the cage!
We're outside the cage.
Oh, it's like we're playing Wrestling Royal Rumble or something. Oh, these guys. Nice, no. And the cage is about to move, get ready.
We're outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Yep, get to the cage up the hills. Go, 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 go!
Where are you guys going?
In the cage.
I should be faster and better because I got freaking out.
Special
Oh.
weapon is regenerated.
Hey, look at it, they all came up the hill and shot me. Every single one of them. The AI is not even against each other. They're all against me and him. You think COD's gonna ban Warzone? I'm not sure. There was a Kelso was talking about something. About the
What? They're not even going against each other.
no, they're not. They're coming for us because we are playing 2-player, but they do it on single player too. We got this. Don't worry.
Destroyed. 5 opponents left.
Oh my god. Suck with this guy. I don't get that robot mode.
4 opponents left.
Dude, we need to go to the next circle.
Wow, Vermin can drive in the ice, no problem. I'm on Vermin's car. Follow Vermin, you'll find the freaking cage. This game was annoying.
Yeah. Because our grace period. We gotta hurry up. Oh.
Special weapon back online.
I need some items.
You are outside the cage.
Yeah, I-
Grace period initiated.
I understand that. I'm trying. Okay. Here we go. I'm in the cage. Leave me alone.
You are outside the cage.
So many people cheating at COD or Warzone, man. I'm telling you guys, like that game, there's so many hackers right now, guys. So many people just exploiting and lag switching and DDoS and all this
You are
crazy stuff.
outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Hey, I literally just made Vermin
Is
outside the
about
cage.
to move.
Wow!
Give me a second.
The cage has moved to another location. Grace
Red spot on the map.
Yeah, the red spot's the new cage. We gotta go, 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 go.
I haven't taken any damage. Have you?
Yeah, I think it's a spawn ability.
special available.
Look at them all traveling up there. They're like, boom, 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 boom.
Grace period
Hey!
expires in 10 seconds.
Hey.
Return
Trying, I can't drive in this game.
again, taking
Hey, I'm gonna kill these last ones.
You are outside the
I
cage.
kill roll kill.
Grace period.
I killed the roll kill.
3 opponents left. You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Man.
2
Boom.
left.
One more.
Wagon destroyed. 1 enemy remains.
We got one more enemy, man. One more enemy. I don't get this. Da-da-da. Sign up for it when I launch the episodes. Really?
The cage has moved to another location. Return to the cage, where you will begin taking.
That's why you don't play Warzone. I don't blame you. Honestly, I had a better time playing just regular multiplayer. The Warzone is, the concept is sweet, but there's hackers,
Or
guys.
you will begin taking damage. Return.
Oh, run to the cage, to the cage. Don't worry about the AI.
Return to the cage, or you will begin taking
Now I'm
damage.
getting it.
Oh shoot, really? I just came up here.
Just go to the cage, I said. Just missed it. Seriously? Oh my god. Cage is right there!
You have won the battle.
Wow, I like how it shows you, just forgets me. What? You have unlocked a rear freeze?
Yes, so how do you do rear freeze? Up and triangle? Okay. What's up, Solid? What's going on, bro?
I like how you're getting all the freaking rewards.
And you got those crybaby cappers. I know Jay will tell you guys. Jay will tell you. All right, we beat the next level, guys. We're ready to move on.
After she escaped. But I almost caught her. I could sense where she was. Her fear. It was so ripe. This would be fun. It was like Christmas morning. Every hallway
Jeez.
filled with little gifts.
What did your guy do?
Little, tiny,
Killed a whole hospital.
filled gifts.
Your guy killed a whole hospital.
So many of them tried to fight. I think they wanted to make it fun for me. I think they were happy for me. Looking back, I'm so glad I decided to take the stairs.
He was happy to take the stairs.
The cops didn't stop you.
Wow.
Her sweet stench lingered in the hall, but I had just missed her. Oh, that name. How I hated that name. It reminded me of how I hated him. How I hated being him. His stupid little life. That stupid little job. It took me years of screaming and clawing and breaking him down. Years of calling out to him, trying to get him to set me free. But he was such a coward. Then one night it happened. One night I called. And he answered. And after I got him to carve me, I killed him. For my first murders, I chose the perfect targets. The perfect family. I chose his family.
Marcus, no!
Marcus King.
doesn't live here anymore.
That was Yellow Jacket.
Shut up and bleed, you motherfucker. They all died so easily. Except for her. She was a surprise.
He's just relieved he didn't die.
Where did she go?
Ooh.
What'd you say?
I'll find her.
I should have said nothing.
I'll fucking find her. Can't hide from me.
You guys still like clowns?
You can't hide from Daddy.
I never liked clowns, and that's the one reason why, to kill him.
Wow.
Killed a whole hospital. Your guy's insane. He's been throwing people out windows. He went.
He went and took out a whole hospital. I don't like that name.
DM, wait. That means Juggernaut's in this match, because it should have just been Waiton. Daddy, choose your best character for this.
But the let's go to get ready for the next one. What?
Fighting Juggernaut. Your guy's crazy. He took out a whole hospital. Even the freaking. Hey, the police couldn't even save the hospital.
Well, while that loads, I'm gonna check something.
Hey, the police. Do it.
Interesting. What a very bad clown. Oh, Sweet Tooth is so angry. You could feel the anger from in his blood.
You thought Sweet Tooth was down in the beginning? Nope. And this was metal? Oh, he bad.
All right, here we go, guys. What does it say? Watkins Harbor? Drive into a garage when your health is low. Okay, well, that was
Killing
quick.
your own family. A nice touch, Mr. Kane.
Oh, he killed his own
They
family.
held me back.
Sweet Tooth is Kane?
Yes, I suppose they did. So anyhow, this is Watkins Harbor. Grimy, rundown, lost hopes around every corner. Your kind of place, yes? And this is Juggernaut.
The heck?
He won't appear on radar, and he's very hard to kill. Every few minutes, he'll drop a new contestant onto the battlefield.
Heck's not
So
moving.
find him quick and kill him.
Who's in there,
quickly.
doll?
It helps
No,
to
it's
shoot
Skull.
his insides while his doors are open. More damage that way. Same with the grill. Aim for Juggernaut's front to take him down fast. Stay alive, Sweet Tooth. The one that got away. You're getting so close.
Okay, here we have it, guys. What the? All right, guys. Let's.
Oh my god, look at the special ability.
Why are you screaming?
Look at though.
What did we do this level?
No, look at Axel. Look at my screen, Daddy. Axel turns together. Spiked wheel. That's a special. Wait a second, he doesn't appear on radar.
No, he doesn't. Not like the other ones.
Special
Him?
weapon has
Yes, I do.
regenerated.
He's right there. Over here. See you? See, he's right here.
Gosh. Oh, that looked like that didn't work.
I don't understand how you're supposed to aim for Juggernaut's front.
we'll see. I mean, we got Reaper. We didn't have to fight Reaper. Wait, why does he have a timer on him? You got 12 seconds. I love how none of the AI is after you but me. Oh, Juggernaut's messing it up.
Yeah, look like oh, I gotta get away.
Lost the battle.
Oh, you were supposed to leave. Wow. Wow, okay.
Whoa. Oh, Daddy, you're supposed to attack him when his timer goes down.
Killing your own family? A nice touch, Mr. Kane.
Alright guys, let's try this again. Yeah, take out the little guys.
I was up in there.
Oh my god, these guys are messing me up. Don't forget to hit the garage, man, if your life is low.
Look at my special.
Hey, please. You're screaming and it hurts. You know what? That's a stupid outlaw. You gotta go, man. You're annoying the crap out of me.
Oh, Juggernaut's over here.
Roadkill destroyed. 4 opponents left.
Oh, I gotta run him over. Oh my god, it won't get off of me. Let's come close it. Jeez, we're all like touching each other. What is that?
Oh, he runs you over. I have to press buttons to escape. Oh, come on. He first runs me over. Then he freaking gets... Hey, Daddy.
Yeah.
Juggernaut's timer was... Oh, it's almost up. I'm gonna go over to Juggernaut.
Be careful behind you. Wait, that's the... Oh, look at him trying to go for that truck. He wants to... Oh!
Juggernaut has spawned an enemy.
It's him spawning an enemy. He just spawned meat magnets.
Really?
Yeah. When that timer goes down, that means he spawns an enemy.
Oh, God.
We gotta kill him.
Oh, my God. Can these guys get off of me? Dang! Yeah, he just used... Shield using multi. Okay. I need some items.
Special.
Right, Kiki, what's going on? How are you?
Oh!
Okay.
Oh, Juggernaut's down here in the sewer.
They're good.
Oh, that ain't Juggernaut.
Freaking health, man.
Oh, Juggernaut's down here. Daddy, Juggernaut just freaking calls me.
You better get out of here. Your life is low, dude. Where you at? Oh, what the?
Help me. Where's
Can
the-
you move? Like, the AI, they're so weird. Where you at? I'm coming to you. They're all off of you. You're good. Just go to the garage. Look for the green wrench on your map. Look at your map on your left. Follow the green wrench.
Get off!
Enemy has spawned.
Oh.
Yeah, he spawns an enemy when that timer goes down.
We gotta take out the enemies quick, I think, or do we have to go...
No, we have to take out Juggernaut first.
Dang, yeah. Okay, let's get you to the garage. You missed it totally, but...
Oh, it's over here.
Oh my god, the AI does not let go. Get in there, get in there! Alright. That is very true. They're very true. They just gang up on you and make the games make you rage. Right. It's all good. I mean... We are playing... Oh.
I'm playing Deathborn right now.
Yeah.
What's your special? I haven't played Deathborn.
Good. Took him out. He's down and out.
Destroyed. 5 opponents left. Driver killed. Extra health awarded. Juggernaut is about to spawn a new enemy.
Hey, you think Juggernaut's a joke now?
Point blank.
Hey, you think Juggernaut's a joke now?
I see the health right here. I'm going in. Wow. I can really miss. Get in there!
Special weapon back online.
Oh! Just shot me out. Okay.
Juggernaut is
All right, that's it. You and your freaking juggernauts, dude. Okay, that was a fail. That was an epic fail. Yeah. Dude, kid, you move, and you're being such a vermin. Why your name is Vermin? Wait, you know what? What do you ask for? Okay. I was being nice. No. Oh, and, oh, you go up and be fancy because you know all the short. Okay.
Daddy, I shot Juggernaut in the front. Ooh.
Good job. Get him down. Get him down.
You're freaking knocked me over. Oh!
Vermin
He
destroyed.
knocked me over.
Juggernaut's life is weak too. Yeah, we do gotta take him out. All right, let's get him.
Never respawn.
Okay, we gotta get this guy down, guys. We gotta shoot him in the front. How are we gonna do this?
I can't in front of him. I juked him off.
Low. He's low. Oh man, he does damage.
Special weapon available. Juggernaut
Yes, got him.
about to spawn an enemy. 3 opponents left.
Daddy, there's only me wagon.
Okay, we still gotta get these guys.
Hold on, give me a high five.
All man. We took out the Juggernaut, man. Yeah. He was really a juggernaut. All right, guys. All right. Oh dear gosh, dear jeez Louise, man.
He's like, stay fine.
Pretty midnight. I got some funny misses. Look at these,
Special available.
Ooh. All right, how many we got? Don't die on me, buddy. You got this. Come on. Outlaw's gone.
Outlaw destroyed. 2 opponents left. Special available.
Get him. He's so weak.
Oh!
Oh, okay. You go. Oh, you guys are both weak. Look at both of you. On top and I'm in the bottom. You know what I mean? Let me heal up what I can.
Special weapon back online.
Yeah, I don't like Sweet Tooth steering too much in this game. He's all over the place. It's like Modem Shakespeare or Modern Shakespeare with all this world play, right? Or the controls of this game a bit wonky too. It is. It's weird. For me, at least because Sweet Tooth's handling I noticed was a lot different than when I played the other characters. Like left stick is the obviously like left, right, whatever, and then what right stick does. Oh, oh!
Oh! Hello.
Just one to say hello. No way.
Hey, I got Cheryl.
Oh, what the? Who hit me from the back? Oh my god, dude. Dude, what's in my way? Move, car. Dear gosh. Alright. Oh. Is that the last one?
Nope.
Stage.
I got Shadow.
Shadow. Destroy.
Meat wagon.
One enemy remains.
Meat wagon.
You're not supposed to park the car. I try not to, guys. I really did.
Try a meat wagon. Meat wagon. Meat wagon.
Oh.
That's who's left.
You won the battle.
What job?
We defeated Juggernaut with all those guys.
Yes, we did. What's going on now?
We've unlocked the Magnum sidearm. But we're having Juggernaut.
Oh. Oh. Like we can only play Reaper. He's a wagon of meat. Wow.
Meat wagon's a wagon of meat.
I guess he's packing a lot of meat.
Desert Twisted Race.
Oh.
Pass.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're almost done.
We are
Two more
almost.
things.
Next mission rolling in. Here we go, guys.
I was just checking.
You making sure, huh? All right, guys, we're good. This is it.
Only able to select one car.
I guess so, yeah. Or, you know, the rest is in the garage.
B2.
Diablo Pass? Oh boy.
Welcome to Diablo Pass. Winding roads, dried blood on the asphalt, and plenty of plunges right to your death. This is Battle Race, Sweet Tooth. Every
Got a
game
race?
you miss will count against you. Miss too many, and it's an early end. Also, you should know, I've equipped every vehicle with a bomb.
Wow.
Race to the ghost town and hit the bomb gate to arm these explosives. Be the first back to the starting line to hit the bomb detonation plate. And blow everyone else to hell.
What? Excuse me?
Okay, here we go, guys. There's 2 dark sides?
Daddy, I'm not with you on this one. Oh! Hey, you're gonna have to go. Well, I'm little. I should be flying right. I'm little.
What the heck is going on?
Aha! That image! No, Crimson Fury.
Special weapon
You
available.
would think so.
Crimson Fury really wants to hit everyone with a bomb.
Oh, you want to fall off the ledge there. Whoa! What happened when you fell off?
I just regenerated. I lost a little bit of health.
Yeah, the other one. No!
Crimson Fury! I'm not even
Oh
looking.
my god, I fell off again. All damage, 187. Come on, dude, please, please, for like. Okay.
Missed.
So it's almost like, oh my god, get off! I got no turret. Look at this. Just aiming at me for days. Okay, that's it, guys. We need to. Oh, I missed the freaking health thing. Oh, thank goodness.
You have armed the bombs. Return to detonator at the starting line.
Oh, what the?
Hey, everyone's in front of me now. We'd have to get in front, please.
Special available.
Okay, what's going on here?
Miss 3 more gates, and you will self-destruct. Gate missed. Miss 2 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
Oh, we're going back. Oh.
1 more gate, and you will self-destruct.
Oh my god, these guys just don't let go.
Special weapon available.
They don't let go.
You have lost the battle.
No, really, dude?
I was up front too.
No. Let's do it all over again. You ready?
Got the bomb. Trying to rush to the front.
All right, guys. Here we go. It's showtime.
Welcome
my car-
to Diablo Pass.
It's slow, but it's all good. I'm a tank, pretty much. So
1.
Oh, look. See. Bye.
you ain't gonna know which shadow.
Oh, come on, Prince of Fury. I'm ready to race you.
Gate missed.
Oh my god, Prince of Fury acts like he's so fast.
Excellent. That's a freaking race car.
What? So this perfect for this?
I would assume it would do so.
This is Jaden. She got a freaking race car.
Good, Reaper's out of here.
Reaper destroyed.
Oh no!
Gate missed.
Come on.
Wait, is Prince of Fury in front of me? No, she's not.
Wow. Just shot me off. AI is such cheaters, bro. I'm done.
Damn, what was the count?
Gate missed.
Good luck to you, bro.
Lost
Oh, we
the
lost?
battle.
No.
Oh, it's the town. Just stay behind everyone.
Well, the first momentum, I was really into it. This time, I just rushed it. Alright, let's try this again. Hold on.
Welcome to Diablo Pass.
Better play.
Winding roads, dried blood on the asphalt, and plenty of plunges right to your death. This is Battle Race, Sweet Tooth. Every gate you miss will count against you. Miss too many, and it's an early end. Also, you should know, I've equipped every vehicle with a bomb. Race to the ghost town and hit the bomb
What are you eating
gates
over
to
here?
arm these explosives.
Alright, let's do this again, guys. Alright, let's play for real. We got this.
2,
You ready?
1.
Wow, Prince of Fury though.
Wow. Wow. Ooh, look at that.
Gate missed.
Wow. I'm just no.
Special weapon is regenerated. Gate missed.
Oh, really worrying about the racetrack. I think they're using some other technique here. Yeah, the steering is so weird.
Back online.
Wow, man. I hate when I fall off, 'cause then I lose. Wow. Come on. I don't think it really matters what place you're in. I don't know why I'm trying to like race for real.
Gate missed.
Ooh, nice little stop it.
You missed a gate. Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct.
I keep missing those gates, man. Is that how you're getting in front?
You have armed the bombs. Return to detonator at the starting line.
Holy mackerel. How many?
Special weapon is regenerated.
Okay. So many of them.
Look how fast turns and furious.
Gate missed.
You would have to freaking kill
Mega
her.
guns.
Okay, we got this. Don't worry.
I turns in fury.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. All right. Here we go, guys. We're ready? All right, let's go.
I'm in the front.
Available.
All right.
Shadow
You
destroy.
got this. You got this. Don't worry.
Hope I got it right here. Okay, I'm ready.
Dark side destroyed. 11 opponents left. Special weapon is
Even
regenerated.
opponents left. I've been trying to take them out, but
Daddy!
first,
Congratulations. Your team has won the race.
I couldn't even move.
Bombs will
Hi,
not
I'm the
explode.
same.
Remaining
Oh.
enemies
I
will
got
be
there before Crimson
destroyed.
Fury did.
Ooh, 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 the handling of that. Yeah.
Wait a second.
Shh. Please, mellow your tone. Why are you screaming? Is your water bottle?
Yeah. Any roll kill. We got roll kill.
Hey, new character right there. Okay.
Of course, he'll be in a racing game. Daddy, how does this a little fast car?
I have no idea.
Oh, the next one's mystery, Daddy. I looked at the things. The next one's mystery. Another sweet tooth.
Oh boy.
See?
The,
The
Brothers
Brothers
Grimm. Oh boy. Well, here we go, guys. Xbox. Who's that?
Welcome back to Sunsprings, Sweet Tooth. As you can see, you're not alone. The loyal gang of Mr. Grimm, a fellow competitor, wants to keep you from your prize. If they kill you, next year, one of them gets to enter my contest. So as you can imagine, they're motivated.
What?
This don't look good.
They're just men, just people. And I've killed plenty of people.
Oh, I just ran right under it. Man, I'm scary. This car can actually steer.
Why is this a boss? Why is Brothers Grimm a boss? Oh. Guys, this is not cool.
No, it's not. We gotta stay over. Oh, what the heck?
Goodbye. Hey. Alright, Daddy, come on. We don't need to be chickens here. We need to defeat these bosses.
We do, but I'm gathering supplies. We got this though. Where'd you go, player 2? I got you. Where'd you go? Where is he? Oh, what the?
Guys, these guys ain't cool. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're called. They're called Slayers. I told you Slayer was in this game.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. All right, here we go. Well, we're gonna see. Yikesers. Oh, what are these guys like shooting at us?
Hammerhead?
Is that who it is?
Daddy, one Slayer. The black and red one's Hammerhead.
Oh, Hammerhead's an old school character.
Yeah, the black and red one's Hammerhead, Daddy. And the yellow one's Slayer.
Ooh, that hurt.
Okay?
This one plays him.
Right, Daddy? See, that's Slayer and the other one's Hammerhead. Okay?
Yep.
These guys are not cool.
What's his health? Oh, he's sharing health? Oh, dear. Jeez. All right, I'm out of here. Hold on. Oh, wow, they shoot a bunch of missiles. Okay.
Cheater! Okay, we almost got one.
I gotta get some help.
Behind you. Slayer's dead.
Okay, one down.
I killed him.
Hammerhead looks mad.
Screw this clown. Weapons ain't cutting through that, boss.
Interesting. It's like a little shell for them to hide in.
Don't worry, boss. Just get us close. I'll take care of the rest.
Then we can gut the fucker.
I love how you're gonna have to.
Right.
He just said, no, I ain't dealing with this clown. Hammerhead just got geared up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to get underneath Hammerhead.
Yeah, your health is low too.
So how?
Okay, guys, we're gonna have to be careful on this one. I know, right?
Can't get past that armor, boss. Just get me close, and I'll take care of it.
Oh.
Daddy, you distract him.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah, you gotta get behind him from the back. Okay, Gunner.
Underneath him.
Damn. Got him.
You have lost.
Oh, my guy just jumped on too.
Give me a sec to arm the bomb, then we can blow.
Wow, I almost had it. You just gotta stay under him and let the guy go in. But yeah, my health was low.
Alright, so we're continue at this.
Yeah. Gotta love it. You gotta love it, Kiki. Absolutely, you're right. Look at this guy. All right, so close. That was close. I was like right there, guys. Right freaking there. Both got green health. All right, let's do this again. Okay, go ahead. What do we do?
Daddy is right by me.
He's right by you, or are you right by him? Does it matter?
Yep. You don't see a shadow?
Oh!
Oh!
Oh my god, what is he doing? He's like, yeah! Oh, he jumped right back in. Oh, what the heck is going on?
So you're right by him? I'll get underneath him.
I think only I can do it.
So I can do it too, look.
Oh, you could?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, but you got a percentage. Oh my god. Dude.
Enemy's armored, boss. Our weapons aren't getting through.
Come on.
Oh, come on!
I'll weaken him this way. Oh gosh. Guy's got shoot. Yeah, you just lost everything. Hold on, he's stuck.
Almost there, boss. I almost got it.
Wow, he came for me. Do it.
Alright, let me get off of him. I'm out of here. He's under.
You just stay
Wait for the
alive
C4.
while I get this thing activated. Then you can come and get me, and we can blow this son of a bitch.
I gotta go get him too? Oh, of course I do. How can you just do it all?
Yeah, take this help. I mean, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go pick him up, okay?
Oh!
Okay,
I'll go get him.
I'm set. I'm coming down.
Oh, the lag. There are some lag spike, right?
Pick me up. Let's rip these bastards apart.
Oh, you have to get him. He's
Yeah.
your clown.
Yeah, but my health is not the best right now. Let me get some more health. Hold on.
Coming?
I wonder
Look,
if
see,
it will
four
be
bombs,
as
what's the-
satisfying if you don't see any blood. I suspect it won't hurt you as much as
God, I hate the steering in this game.
don't you agree?
Okay, here we go. I'm coming. Let me get him. Let me get him real quick. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
All we've done. We're a team, boss. A team.
We were a team until you left the detonator in the car with me.
Where'd he go?
Saved me to cut you before
Wow, he said you were. We were.
No, boss.
You left them in there?
boys and girls. This is going to be so much fun.
I'm trying. You won't let me get in there.
Want me to do it?
Hold on. Ooh. Alright, go ahead. You want to do it? Just do it.
It's not my clown.
Of course it's a day. What am I supposed to do here? Oh,
Press button.
pick up.
Yeah, get him.
No, I don't go under him.
Yeah, you get him.
It's right. Oh, he's right there. Well, let me get him.
Oh, because you already said you're going to leave him there to die.
Yeah. Oh, I can't shoot or nothing. Why? I don't have any items.
You said we were. Wait, is that my clown?
Come on, dude. I'm trying to figure out. I can't use the weapons or nothing. Hey, we got lights. Oh!
You left your clown.
I did. I could have grabbed him too.
There he is.
Brilliant move, freak! You went and killed your gunner. How are you gonna stop us now?
I'd kill tougher than you, asshole. Don't get cocky. You're just the appetizer.
Whoa! Dude, I'm low on health. You're gonna have to take over. Or you're low too, and we got no garages.
Oh, what do you think? This guy killed.
Alright, I know. We gotta attack him from a distance. Just spray missiles at him.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Having a good time.
weakening him, but that's all I can do. Okay, no more items. Okay, I'm out of here. I did a lot of damage. He had full health, now he has 50%. Okay, Claire, I got some help. There's another one. There's another help pickup. If you grab it, look on the map. Grab it.
I need it.
Go get it. Hurry up.
Wow,
God, this guy does damage like that.
Your
He's
health
on
is
me.
low.
All right, I need. He's doing shockwaves and I got.
with me, like we were.
Shoot up B. Where'd he go? He's by you. Careful.
Woo! Hello, Finnegal.
Shoot him! Shoot him! Shoot him!
Machine gun.
Oh!
Oh my god, look
Shoot him! Shoot him! There you go. Just sitting there.
at my machine gun. He's dead. Both of them are dead.
Yeah, it's the game though, lagging. It's just the way the game is.
Now, tonight, it all comes to an end.
It's my time.
Tonight, I finally get my special treat.
Put it in a box. You unlock talent? Oh, cool.
See another guy? Oh, that's how we get Talon. The Brothers Grimm.
Mhm.
Alright, you ready? Press
So I can't play as the Brothers Grimms. Oh, we got another trophy. That one that got away.
The battle was over.
That's it?
I had killed almost everyone,
Almost.
but she was still out there. And Calypso knew where she was hiding. For my prize, I told Calypso to send me where she'd been all these years. Oh, tonight, I'd finally get to cut her. Take me to her now!
Your wish is
But you don't know where she is. Watch it be a trick. Calypso's known for that.
Calypso. Calypso. Where's my god-damned prize?
Look around, Sweet Tooth. You've been given your prize. That night, when she first encountered you, she was so traumatized. She was so damaged. The hospital just wasn't really working for her. So she checked herself out and made other arrangements.
Oh, she killed herself and now he's in a coffin with her.
She's been dead for 10 years.
You can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't ever kill me. I'll find you, Calypso. I'll fucking find you and fucking kill you. You will fear Sweet Tooth. I will fucking cut your insides out. You will fear me, you motherfucker.
Oh, he's mad, but look, he's all the way under the ground. Wow. Way down there. All in the middle of nowhere, too.
Watch his hand out.
My name is Daniel Grimm, and I'm an asshole.
Playing different stories.
I've robbed people, killed people. Hell, some of the ones I killed, I know they didn't have it coming. wasn't always like this. My life, it used to be different. It used to be good. I'd sit up in that beat-up truck of his. Every few days, a brand new town, a brand new stadium. But even with all the fans, all the excitement, it was being in that truck with my dad that I loved the most. He was
How's it going,
my
Dale?
idol. And in that get-up of his, I thought he was a damn superhero.
Back in town to shatter the world record he set just last year. Please welcome the high-flying, death-defying stuntman that death himself is too scared to touch. The one and only Mr. Grimm.
Mr. Grimm wasn't in the game, or was he Reaper? Oh, Mr. Grimm was his dad.
That night I learned the truth. The world don't give a crap about you, so I figured I might as well return the favor. Doesn't take a genius to figure how it all worked out. Come on, motherfucker!
Really geeky. Long time no see,
I'm the
yeah.
bad guy.
Daddy,
But
these
what
are
if
all
that
of the
one
character
jump never
stories, Mr. Grimm and everyone.
Yeah.
What if
Wait,
I could go
remember?
back and
The
warn you?
tires of Sweet Tooth's car said the demise
If
of
I die in
Sweet
this
Tooth.
contest, I'm fine with that.
That means Sweet Tooth died.
Hell, I'll
Yeah.
welcome it.
Now we're playing Grim Reaper story,
I'm going back to stop him from trying that jump.
right?
I'm going back to save his life.
So Calypso promised him to go back in time to save his dad's
My life
life.
will turn out different.
So he wants to go back to the past to save his father. That's what Mr. Grimm wants to
and-
do.
Sweet Tooth wanted to kill that girl, but she was already dead, so he went in the coffin with her.
Unfreaking believable. Wow. All right. Before we start that.
Oh, Juggernuts!
All right, guys, give me 1 second.
All the character stories we played through, of course. Now we're playing. Then we're gonna.
Okay, guys. Before we kick off to the next round here, real quick. Yeah, if they make a Twisted Metal for PS5, I think I'll get one too. If that happens, I'll buy a PS5. Kids, I really get a Twisted Metal on the PS5. I know. You know what? Twisted Metal's a great game. We played quite a bit, guys. We did 1, 2, 3, 4. Small Brawl, Head On, Black 2, which never got completed, and then now this one, guys. Well, this one we have the old Juggernauts, and this is going to be Diesel City. But yeah, now we're doing Mr. Grimm's story, guys. All right, guys. Let's go and do it. Yeah, Xbox isn't too much exclusive. Not lately, not with the one. Xbox has kind of been getting the last of everything, which is kind of annoying.
So we got dual Juggernaut.
Oh, sorry.
Show me the map.
Oh, it shows us.
Oh.
Oh, look at Reaper.
Oh, but
Falcon.
I'm doing Talon too. It's Talon.
Talon, and then what else do we have?
We're gonna do
We got Reaper, and who else? That's all the characters we have?
No. Two.
Oh, Roadkill.
We ready?
Well, we don't want exactly the same. As much as I hated Sweet Tooth, I got used to him. Oh, Roadkill was the when we fought Hammerhead. That's a pretty good car. Yeah, why not? Mr. Grimm's always been like a really weak character, so I'm scared. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, not amazing for business. I mean, okay, yes. You know, it is what it is, guys. You know, that's the thing Sony has. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sony's having network issues currently.
Its best days are long behind it. Actually reminds me of you, Mr. Grimm. But perhaps there is hope. Destroy 2 Juggernauts before they flood the city with enemies. They won't appear on radar, and their spawn rate is deadly fast. But stay strong. Your chance to change the past begins here.
Special weapon back online. Juggernaut is about to spawn an enemy. Special weapon has regenerated. Juggernaut has spawned an enemy. Juggernaut destroyed. 5 opponents left.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is it's weird. And they worked for you, really, Jay? I'm gonna try them again. That's weird, dude. So the PlayStation hits worked for you? Not like it used to be. No, 360 was. Oh my god, I just hit the wrong thing.
Your health is low. Juggernaut is about to spawn a new enemy.
No, hold on. Wait, what happened? Why can't you move?
Hold my buttons to look around now.
Juggernaut. What did you do? What?
Move.
Juggernaut has
What did you do?
I can't move.
Can you shoot? Hit square. Hold square, not the joystick. This one. Oh my god, my son.
special weapon available. Your health is low.
Son is losing it, guys.
Garage.
Explained you had to use this button, and I forgot you had to press X to go in the car.
Alright, we need to take out this,
Oh, Daddy, I'm
Oh my god, what the heck? Why are you not sticking the stronger? Can't shoot this thing.
Come here. Come
Oh
on.
my god.
Vehicle health restored.
Really?
Get off this juggernaut.
Special weapon back online.
I'm not liking all these walls, but I mean, I guess it makes sense because
Your health is low. Find some health or visit a garage to swap
Juggernaut's
your
down.
vehicle. Juggernaut destroyed. 5 opponents left.
Go to the garage. Oh, no.
okay. So Talon gets items in the air. Okay, well, that would make this character a little overpowered, wouldn't it?
No, they can still shoot you while you're in the air.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that explains why the. Oh god, yeah, they hurt. Oh.
Special weapon available.
They're wrecking me right now, actually. Just grab all the items you can. Yeah, these handheld games, I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm sick and tired of it. They're all trying to do the free-to-play and make you to spend money type of deal, and it's getting really aggravating. How's your abilities? Well, this remember, no, that's what's the matter. There was a helicopter guy, and people were complaining that you couldn't play as it. Well, they kind of brought one in, I guess. That's kind of cool. How you looking? You okay down there? Look at traffic. Traffic's going fast. Jeez. True, the Switch was a step to the right direction, and I don't have a problem with playing handheld. That's different, though. That's different.
Ready? Ready? This is why I say traffic. Get out of the way, traffic. Traffic, I don't need you. Ooh! What?
You need help, dude.
No, I don't.
Oh, that's something else.
destroyed. 4 opponents left.
4 opponents. Oh god.
Oh, no lasers. Oh. Bye.
Yeah. No. Three opponents left.
Yeah, Grim Reaper ranking.
Like the Wii, right? Yeah, right. You guys are right. So what's everybody's favorite console though? Right now, favorite console all time.
PC.
Special weapon has regenerated.
Press button.
It doesn't matter. It's just palm buttons to restart engine. Okay. Oh, you could change your weapons? Yeah, some of them are starting to become a little too cartoony now. That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, I killed Vermin.
Vermin destroyed. 2 opponents left. Driver killed. Extra health awarded.
Alright, I see you going at the shadow. Let's do it together.
Shadow destroyed. 1 enemy remains.
Forget that I even said that. We got one more enemy. We got Kamikazes in the middle of the map.
Special available.
Another crashing. Up in the front.
Kamikaze guy, let me tell you.
Mega guns.
Here we go. Trying to get health.
I killed him. I killed all 3 of them. I killed Shadow, Vermin, and I killed Shadow, Vermin, and I killed Kamikaze. Got Meat Wagon.
Meat wagon.
Daddy.
Alright, so the dual juggernauts is completed.
Daddy.
Okay. Did we save the game? Yeah, it auto saves. I think auto saves, so I think we should be good. Wait a minute, I'm not sure to be honest. The one I play the most is X-Splendor. Okay.
Shadow. And Vermin.
Alright guys, here we go. Here we go, next round. Showtime. How do we pick? You only give me one character? I thought we could be 2.
Meat Wagon. No, they give you 2.
Oh look, here's Meat Wagon.
Yeah, I picked Meat Wagon in town.
Nice. Alan's good, but his health is... No.
Ready?
Yeah. Hold on. Alright, I got an idea then.
Hey, you want to play Wood Twist?
We'll have to one of these.
I did Meat Wagon and Rowboat.
You boat gently down the stream.
Welcome to the
live
Grindhouse.
stream, I think.
Lots of enemies in a really tiny
A new level.
space. Oh, you're going to love this, Mr. Grimm.
Don't care where they die, Calypso. Just as long as they do.
This guy's
Oh,
very...
God. Look at the back of my car. There's someone in there.
Yeah, look, he's ready to come out.
I didn't realize there's someone in Meat Wagon's car. I mean, he's in there. Oh, Daddy, I'm literally launching at people. That's why. See the guy in my back?
Oh, Mr. Grimm, you're so squishy.
It's Sweet Tooth an enemy.
Special weapon available.
God, I want to get in there. Don't let me.
Vehicle health restored. Special weapon available.
I just want a chainsaw.
Destroyed.
Yeah, this one
7
is a
opponents
Vince
left. Special
Yeah.
weapon available.
Gosh.
Destroyed. 6 opponents left. Special weapon back online. Sweet Tooth destroyed. 5 opponents left.
Alright guys, let's get these back up. I think you just got yourself copyrighted. No! That's not good. I'm getting shot at. How's the Meat Wagon?
Good. Look at him. He's brand new. I literally just killed Sweet Tooth. Meat Wagon. See? Look at this guy. Good. Kill Rowboat. Kill Rowboat and Sweet Tooth.
Destroyed. 4 opponents left.
4 opponents left, dude. You got this.
Did you use the
Special
freaking...
available.
What?
God. Meat Wagon or Rowboat? I'm already playing Meat Wagon. Rowboat.
Oh, singing to row your boat. Yeah, copyright. All right. The boat's gonna come and get me, guys. Okay.
Special weapon has regenerated.
Oh, wow. Fire over here, guys. Should have never done that. Oh, gosh.
Hey, if you see all the weak people, that's killing me.
Oh, that's good. Keep it moving, man. Keep it moving.
He's missing.
Special weapon available.
The items.
Junkyard dog destroyed. 3 opponents left.
I'm beating all these guys.
Driver
I'm only
kill.
taking that much
Extra health
I haven't
awarded.
even healed.
Got your back. Got your back. Somebody's behind you. We need chopper support. Over. On your tail. There you go. He's down and out.
Death warrant destroyed. 2 opponents left. Special weapon available.
Oh, this guy's in the ass. Oh. Okay, no problem, no problem.
I killed Outlaw.
Outlaw destroyed. 1 enemy remains.
I think it's lagging because
Special
we're doing
weapon
2
is
things.
regenerated.
Okay.
Last player. Who is it? Warthog at me.
Look, Chuck is here. Do you need help? Where is Chuck? Look.
I need help. You're good. Look,
Okay.
I killed that many enemies. I only took that much damage. I know this thing. Yep, Warthog. I knew it. Can't work.
We're gonna like go to the chopper.
You won
There
the
you
battle.
go. Yeah.
I've killed most of those guys, and I've only lost like that much health. We got Vermin.
Ooh. Yes, another character.
Who's the guy?
Don't be
Is
she.
that poop on his truck?
I don't know. Do me a favor. All right, looks like we're ready for the next one, guys. Yeah, which one? All right, let's get on with the next one. All right, it's about time you got it, Doji, and I hope it runs very, very well for you, bro. It matters. We want to clock. Oh, not electric. I'll let you want to try Vermin.
Keep dragging and Vermin.
Kill. Put Talon in there, but I'll switch.
Which Talon?
Oh?
No. But you picked it. That's what they're for this game.
Oh, okay. Well, I got roadkill first then. Adventure Park.
You know, Mr. Grimm, I just love a good theme park. Don't you? It's just about impossible to be sad in a place like this,
Looks
isn't
cool.
it?
Look, Walt Disney.
So much
Is that
fun,
what that's supposed to be?
so much joy. In fact, it's the kind of place Daddy would have taken you as a kid, when he was still breathing, I mean.
Fuck you.
Wow.
When he was still breathing. Right?
Come on, Grimm. Just a joke. I like to tease.
Very killing.
Yep, See, I can both go first. Alright, let's go. I don't want to go down. Oh, what the? He's just starting to get blown up, guys. There's too many.
Special weapon back online. The cage is about to move.
Cage is about to move.
The cage has moved to another location.
Ah, move, man.
Special weapon back online.
Wow, my character.
Oh my.
Destroyed.
Seriously? These guys are doing everything they can in their power for me not to get in there. I'm getting call, stop, froze, everything, all the above.
Gunner killed.
Jeez. Sorry, I'm here now, guys. I have an itch between my power supply and a new motherboard. Hey, how does it run, Doge? How does it run, Doge? This again, I'm not gonna. Let me out.
Outside the cage.
Let's go to action.
Way out here.
Axle destroyed.
Like, E-Wagon, I see why he's there.
You are
He's good.
outside the cage.
Not this again.
Grace period initiated.
This rowboat is getting on my nerves.
I like how the players always attack you.
Yeah!
Like,
You see my screen is all explosions.
Like, what the hell?
No, I got one.
Mega guns.
I'll grab it again. I'm not in this one. Oh god. Oh dear Jesus. How many items, man?
Yeah, Daddy, look at my mega board.
I'm perfect. Get shot at.
You
Your
are
screen looks
outside the
piece of
cage. Grace period.
You're laughing because you know it's true.
Destroyed.
Getting angry right
Opponents left. You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
Oh, really?
Is about to move.
It was a hard part.
You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
I know exactly what it
Is
is.
regenerated.
I still get blown up.
Kill some of the Fury.
Fury destroyed. 3 opponents left.
I'm killing all of them.
I can't even enjoy the level because I'm so busy trying to find a cage. Okay. It's a Calypso truck. Oh, now you want to come. Now you're here. You got to show up. Oh, there, you didn't even get up.
Outside the cage. Grace period initiated.
You can pull it right there.
Kill Rowboat.
Destroyed. 2 opponents left. Special weapon is regenerated.
Kill Outlaw.
Outlaw destroyed.
Hey, I've been killing
1
all.
enemy remains.
Only one man will kill them.
You are outside the cage. Grace period initiated. You won the battle. Driver killed. Extra health awarded.
To get unlock the absorption shield.
What does that mean? Oh, right, and triangle.
Oh, we haven't been using this.
No, we haven't, but triangle and those seem to be doing different attacks. Do you absorb damage with that? Do you get like lifesteal or something? Right.
Those are all the other items from killed. Calypso, he's killed Sweet Tooth without his blades. He's got those blades. Oh no.
The death that your cursed contest has rained down upon us all, it ends tonight. Oh, it ends tonight, Calypso. And it ends with me. For my God has come, and he has given me the honor of waking the suffering from their slumber of fear. And once awakened, we will all rise up. We will rise up this very night, and we shall tear down your tower of sin. Oh, I know who you are.
Next door is the priest.
I know who you really are.
Right? Why was that one of Grim Reaper's?
I don't know.
Grim Reaper wasn't it.
Yeah, he wasn't in there at all.
So all the people that hold on, Daddy, before we start, all the people Calypso killed, collected an item from them. He killed Sweet Tooth. He got his blade.
Yep.
He got that blade right there. Killing blade.
I think Roadkill was okay.
You already know what I'm going with.
Right.
Permanent meat wagon.
Special weapon. Effing go. Yeah, his special weapon is good, but man, oh look at his speed. Look at his speed. That's how we got 1 bar. Look at everybody else.
Oh, let me see this guy's speed.
My Sweet Tooth is about the same.
Meat wagon. Look at his
Yeah,
speed.
look at the helicopter. He's got no arm. Does speed.
Yeah, kamikaze speed.
Let's try kamikaze.
I'm not gonna try this. That one. Oh, come.
I noticed with the juggernauts, the helicopter helps a lot.
Welcome to Watkins Harbor.
Oh, is this where we fucked up,
A
brother?
great place to introduce my newest event, the endurance match.
Right.
The enemies, motivated gang members of fellow contestants, just keep coming. Take one out, another appears. To win the battle, you have to reach the kill limit. It's the only way back, Mr. Grimm. The only way back to Daddy.
Hey, come on. We gotta get 8.
Because Mr. Grimm wants to go to the past, change. I think he wants to save his father from death. Oh, this seems okay. Yeah, he drives good. Very good.
Wait, who's the meat wagon?
Special weapon is regenerated.
Oh, not this guy. things thrown at Shadow. Thank you, Jim. And into a wall. Look at the chat. Okay, you know what? You guys got all got so much health right now. In the air to shimmer the veins, right with the deuce. Oh, not this guy. He's gonna throw me up.
Outlaw destroyed.
Let me know where
Driver
right
killed. Extra
Oh,
health.
man, all three of them are here.
Special weapon back online.
Should have sucked me in. Oh, God, you never miss. What the? Oh. So the man's looking at my screen like, oh, I never saw that happen before. Oh, Mikey. Oh. Just like he knows. This special.
Look at my guy special. Look how much damage he does.
Roadkill destroyed. Special weapon is regenerated.
Blowing people up. I'm like, oh, you want to talk to me? Nope.
Axle destroyed. Driver killed. Extra health.
Sweet Tooth, what the? Look at the move, running around and stuff. Like, how does he do that? I was playing the Sweet Tooth, I couldn't even do it.
Special weapon back online.
Shadow's back alive.
Right, veterans, how are you? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're just we're doing a throwback. We never played this one. This is a new one for us right now. Oh gosh, he is on my hiney. Okay. Behind you, behind you. Ooh.
Gonna kill. Random weapon awarded.
Oh, why did I use it? Come out of here. Oh god.
Special weapon available.
Okay, I'm out. Okay, goodbye. Yeah. We gotta be careful too. Hmm? By the way, I changed a few other things also on Discord as well, Jim, so definitely. I do see a lot of new names here in the stream. I'm not gonna see your names, so if you guys are lurking tonight, it's all good. I'm not gonna like shout you out just for your secrecy or hiding or whatever. Or if you're just watching. But guys, definitely check out our Discord, guys. Jim, if you could post a Discord in chat, that'd be awesome. So there's a lot of names on the map, guys. Hold on.
Not even using my regular.
Pause this 1 second, guys. Let me clean these lines real quick so I can put it.
Alright, we're back. Okay.
We got the nine, guys. Let's keep going. Thank you, Gem. Yes. Let's go. All right. Alright, so we gotta be careful here, team. What else do we have going on here? Okay. Gotta stay alive.
Special available.
Somewhat for me.
I killed Crimson Fury just by running into him. Crimson Fury was weak.
Health is low. Find health or find a garage. Shadow destroyed.
Hey, we got 8 kills. Out of 8.
We did?
Yeah, we only needed to get 8 kills.
Extra
That was
health
it.
awarded.
I like how your car's showing for player 1. What do we get? We got a shotgun.
Double barrel too on top of that. That's the
No.
shotgun everybody uses in Modern Warfare. Oh.
Roxy.
Yahoo!
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Oh. Another
What we got next?
movie, I bet. Parts of Mystery. Race to Battle, Sun
Oh.
Springs, really? Another race? You know, hold on.
The race in Sun Springs.
Kamikaze. I'm picking Kamikaze because
Yeah, but Sweet Tooth last time gave me an issue, I remember.
yeah, you went explain to us again. Sorry.
Oh, Kamikaze was pretty good. Throw them off the maps, but I'm good.
Man, there's no holes in the map. The other one.
Oh.
Welcome to the battle race. Another event, another chance for you to fulfill the death wish that
Oh,
you've
you got
had
a
since
cycle
you
back
saw
there.
your father's head explode.
The meat wagon.
Well, since you saw your father
There's
die,
only one dark side this time. Thank goodness.
don't
Oh, nope, I
miss
said
too
this was
many
too-
gates, Mr. Grimm. And please be sure to finish among the top racers to earn a little twisted surprise at the end.
How much you want bet?
For this event, the
Oh, yeah.
happy town of Sun Springs, California will serve as your racetrack. It's a nice town, don't you think? Win
Okay.
this race and you'll
Go,
be
guys.
one step closer to going back and saving your father. Save
Finally.
your father, change your life. Good luck, Grim.
Yeah. Gonna kill him. Was he? Let's just kill him.
Alright, here we go, guys.
Bye.
Gate missed.
Kill Crimson Fury.
Fury destroyed. 9 opponents left.
Crimson Fury dead? Forever?
Special weapon back online. You missed a gate. Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct.
Then lost. I'm lost.
You're lost.
Yeah.
Why?
Gate missed. Gate missed. Miss 4 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
I don't know what just happened. I got lost too.
Special weapon back online. You missed a gate. Miss 3 more gates, and you will self-destruct.
Oh, Gates missed 12 out of 12.
You lost the battle.
I'm dead. Dang it. No.
I lost because I got lost.
Yeah, I did too, right when the city came.
No, I got lost because of
Welcome
the
to the
freaking...
battle race.
Just skip it.
Another of
Alright guys, let's try this again.
3.
1.
Come on. Me and Crimson Fury.
Gate missed.
I'm missing. streets here, just running in a race.
So am I.
Missed.
Oh!
Daddy, get out of here! Wait, what?
Special weapon has regenerated.
They say I'm...
Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct.
5 more.
Are you lost?
Missed 7 out of 12.
Are you lost?
No, I'm good.
Where are you supposed to be at?
Five.
Hey, we're supposed to go up here!
No, I'm coming, I'm coming.
Okay, I'm lost.
Look at this.
Gate missed.
A weird race.
Really? After we reset the last valid gate?
Missed. Miss 4 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
I don't know where I'm at!
Missed a gate. Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct.
The gate too, what the heck?
Missed a gate. Miss 3 more gates, and you will self-destruct.
I don't know where we're going.
You missed a gate.
Doesn't tell me.
More gate, and you will
You
self-destruct.
missed 1 more gate, you're done.
Gate missed. Missed 4 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
Yeah, I gotta follow the AI because honestly, I don't know where I was going.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but how are we supposed to know where to go?
You have lost the battle.
That was a weird race, guys. Very, very weird. Yeah, let's do this again.
I'm bad at this.
Welcome to the battle race.
3, 2, 1. Gate missed.
I'll take some of them out too. So
They are Crimson Fury.
stay in the gates. You already missed one. Here, it's right on your screen.
Special weapon available. Gate missed.
Ah!
Gate missed. Gate missed. Special available.
Oh, trying to stay on track.
Missed.
Oh my god, the AI made me miss. Wow.
More, and you will self-destruct.
Bad at it.
Wow, went around the gate and they gave me. Wow.
You will be destroyed.
Selfish shenanigans.
I'm gonna make sure I hit these because right now you're 6 out of 12. I'm 8 out of 12. I missed that. Oh my god, no, don't make me miss it.
Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct. Gate
Up
missed.
here? Oh, seriously?
And you will be destroyed.
Oh my gosh. What's up, Solid? This map is very weird, dude. heck am I supposed to go? Oh my gosh. I don't get it.
There's 2 more gates and it will be destroyed.
Wow.
Lost the battle.
Yeah, you're going too fast.
Oh, just quit.
Alright. Just quit it. %. I hope it saves, man. Too bad there wasn't just a change vehicle option.
Oh, it's Dollface. The next one. It's twisted. See? It's Sweet Tooth.
Oh,
Mr. Green, Dollface.
gotcha. And it saved too.
Hey, go back to the race. I wanted to pick a different. Why do we not have Crimson?
I don't even want to know.
Welcome to the battle race.
Just skip it.
3,
You'll see what car you are.
2, 1.
Oh.
Gate missed.
Well, we'll just. Look, at least we know the campaign saves. I was kind of scared. I thought we had to do like the whole thing. Alright.
Special weapon back on.
Who's this guy?
Eliminate car copy.
Gate missed.
I love how the AI just completely missed that. They better blow up. Oh, and I missed.
Missed. Special weapon available. Gate missed.
That was a weird noise. 1 second. All right, here we go. Ready?
Gate missed. Missed a gate. Miss 5 more, and you will
Hey,
self-destruct.
you missed 8 already?
Look at these stupid AI. They knocked me off.
Oh, I know. It's annoying. That's how you think they got me. Yeah, let's try to stay in the race this time, guys.
You missed a gate. Miss 3 more gates,
God.
and you will self-destruct.
See, it's on the map. Look for the arrows on your map.
gates, and you will be destroyed.
Dude, you really missed 10 out of 12?
You missed a gate. Miss
One more and you're dead.
more gate, and you will suffer.
Drive slower.
Well, we have to win.
I know we have to win, but we're not gonna win. Like, look, I'm right behind, or you're, I'm in 11th place, but hey, still in the race though. I don't think the AI really matters if they do.
You have lost the
Now we gotta do the
battle.
race all over again. How are we gonna win that way? Play accurate. They're rushing way too fast.
I'm trying to beat all the AIs.
I know. I wouldn't worry about it.
Welcome to the battle
Just
race.
when you're racing them, try to take them out.
Another
That's all.
event. Another chance for you to fulfill the death wish that you've had since
Yeah,
Three.
this character, I don't know.
2.
Wow, he's right next to me too.
Alright, let's do this. We're gonna know this map by heart pretty soon.
Take out from top.
So Grim Reaper. So mean.
It's left. Gate missed. Special weapon is regenerated.
Minus 0, that's great. Yeah, just skipping.
Gate missed.
You missed too.
You got this.
Gate missed.
See? Oh my god, I can't steer. Like, they push me the whole time. Oh my god. Oh, seriously, Sutu? I don't think the gates matter for them. I think they get to just play however they want. So, you gotta worry about no gates or nothing. They just...
Special weapon back online.
We just turned into a game.
Like, you know what? This is people are new. No, I'm just.
Sound me wheels. I got feet. Alright, well, the good news is I haven't missed that many.
Special weapon
I missed
available.
Perfect. I missed 4, but we're still in the race, which is bad.
Missed.
Get away! You measly scrub! I missed 3.
Oh, I
Missed.
so.
Missed 6!
Gate missed. Special weapon available.
Alright, we're gonna have to be careful on this one. Looks like we're about to turn.
Gate missed.
Love how the abilities just don't miss.
No, that's Warren!
Special weapon is regenerated. You missed a gate. Missed 5
Heard
more,
that.
and you
What?
will self-destruct. Gate missed. Missed 4 more gates.
What happened, little man? 8 out of 12? What's going on there, man?
Outlaw destroyed.
No, nice and easy, nice and
Opponents
easy.
left. Mega gun.
Scrub. Ha! Say mine first.
So, yeah.
I'm first. Oh no, Crimson Two.
Oh, you're third. I'm coming, though.
Oh my god, I love how Warhol can just jump on top of me.
Missed 3 more gates, and you will self-destruct. Gate missed. Missed 2 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
Really, dude?
No, that's a deathmatch surprise. Kill all enemies to win.
Wow.
We had to kill all enemies. We didn't have to race. That's the deathmatch thing. Really must destroy all opponents to advance, so we were racing for nothing.
Wow.
That's the catch from Calypso.
Wow. You rigged it, mate.
Welcome to the battle race.
3,
Oh. Kill them all.
2, 1.
So it ain't even about winning, dude. Go slow and just take these guys out.
Wow, they're rushing. We gotta catch up.
Sending missiles right next to you.
But we do have to freaking get the date.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna freeze one and I'm gonna take them out. Ready?
Special weapon back online.
Look how slow the AI is going. You see how slow they're going? Yeah, we didn't have to win. It wasn't about racing. Okay.
Fun. I was over here going kamikaze. We didn't have to.
You were almost first place. Wow, I can't believe that. Honestly, for like as old as this game is, it don't look bad.
Special weapon back online.
We're just cruising now. Look at the names on the map. We gotta take all them guys out. We don't even have to race. I think we just gotta meet them somewhere. We gotta catch up.
Missed. Gate missed.
Wait, can you put the helicopter on this map?
Special available.
Nope. They already knew that.
Or not?
I said nope.
Gate missed.
What the heck was this? Oh, there's water in the way. Oh.
Gate missed.
Here?
Easy. We gotta throw it. Okay, what's going on here?
I'm done. We didn't even have to kill him, so the race goes on forever and just the ones win.
Yeah, so where are they?
Oh, way up there!
Gate missed.
God, I hate the... Alright, we gotta freeze these guys and like take them out. Press up on a D-pad. Oh, look at that, they're going backwards. I see you guys.
I wish I was in it. Warthog!
Because we didn't even follow it. That's why I saw them not following the race.
Gate missed.
We can see. I do have to follow the arrows. We gotta follow the race.
Mega guns. Warthog destroyed. None of the opponents left.
That was crazy, guys. We had a surprise.
Gate missed.
Boy, said we had a deathmatch. What? They're all the way up there? Wow, Sweet Tooth just said forget it. I got legs. Who needs?
Just come on. Let's see if we beat this.
If we don't, I'm gonna pick Sweet Tooth. I'm just gonna walk and be like, okay.
Hmm.
Woo!
We gotta take these guys out.
You're over here thinking, oh, it matters.
Gate missed. Missed 4 more gates, and you will be destroyed. Mega guns.
Yeah, Crimson Fury is gonna.
Oh, well, I think we knew that. I think we gotta take them out first.
Yeah, Crimson. How do we kill all these guys?
I have no idea, but we don't want to finish the race either.
I'm Kazuya. I mean, freaking, Crimson Fury.
Opponents 4.
You have lost the battle.
Wait.
I'll let you set that up real quick. Hold on.
Who are you gonna pick? Okay. Daddy.
Welcome
on.
to the battle race. Another event, another chance for you to...
3, 2,
Let's do this again, guys.
How do I become a sweet bot? Hey, how do I become a sweet bot?
gate missed.
Just triangle, and then you hit the other special.
What?
If you press triangle on your special, it changes your special type. It's like a secondary special.
Special weapon is regenerated. Gate missed.
Keep shooting in front of us.
Special weapon available.
I need to get Ha! How do I walk? That's called outlaw.
Destroyed. 9 opponents left. Warthog destroyed. Gate missed.
Get dark side.
Special weapon is regenerated.
I'm taking my time cruising.
Destroyed.
You're just like I want to kill you. So many opponents are up there.
missed.
That must be
Special
like every
weapon
character in the game
available.
except for Juggernaut. Ow. Right?
Gate missed. Gate missed. Mega guns. Special weapon available. Gate missed.
Whatever. Good gosh. Okay.
You missed a gate. Miss 5 more, and you will self-destruct.
Wow.
Both got seven.
Meat weapon destroyed.
Well, how many opponents we have left?
Eight.
Mega guns. Gate missed. Missed 4 more gates, and you will be destroyed.
Dude, he's all messed up. Okay, get in there, hurry up.
5
that's good.
opponents left.
Crimson Fury.
Dang it! We gotta do it before the race is over. Kill all opponents.
You have lost the
I think
battle.
we gotta go for Crimson Fairy in the beginning.
No, Crimson Fury and
Yeah, I think we have to focus down once we.
Crimson Fury.
Okay, come on.
Go for Kamikaze and Crimson Fury.
Got it. I'm just gonna race. I'm gonna speed up to the front real quick.
Welcome to the battle race.
Get those guys out.
Yeah.
Another.
Ready?
3,
Oh, yeah.
2, 1.
Seriously, I can't move.
Sorry in front.
Oh my god, I'm stuck, dude. No, that's bull crap. Restart that. That was trash. That was trashy. I glitched out on you.
Welcome to the battle race.
Yeah, turbo and
Another
everything. I
event,
said nope.
Another chance for
I
you
knew
to
my
fulfill
plan
the
and it
three.
stopped. AI said, I control this game.
1.
It's a very good run, buddy.
Gate missed.
Yeah, get Crimson Fury.
Dang, he's so fast. Come on, man. I'm blown all over the freaking place. Now I'm behind. Great.
Want me to get her?
Get her, get her. Right fucking there. I missed one of those. I missed a couple just so I can get this. Look, he ain't even doing the checkpoints. Look at him.
Gate missed.
Look at him.
Missed 5.
Oh, dude, you cheating, bro.
Self-destruct. Missed a gate. Missed 3 more gates.
Wow.
2 more.
Oh, no, he's cheating. I don't care what nobody say. He drives too perfect, too fast.
Special weapon has regen. You have lost the battle.
No.
Whole team is after me. And I was so close to death, bro. Brimstone had that much health. Jeez. All right, let's try this again.
You rushed to the front because you had the top.
Welcome to the
I
battle
was first place
race.
and everything. I didn't even pass Crimson
Another
Fairy, but
event.
he's too
Another
fast.
chance.
3,
It's not even as fast. His driving is so perfect.
1.
Okay, I'm in the front. Where's Grimstone coming? Look at him.
Gate missed.
Oh my god, these guys got to get it. Look at him. Grimstone, you're mine.
Gate missed.
Wow. He was.
My god.
Wow. He pushed him to the wall.
Up, man. Come on, man. Like, why? I race and someone throws something at me and flops me out. Like, the whole team is after me. Like, I can't do anything.
Welcome to the battle race.
3,
It's so cheap. Like, everybody should be fighting everybody.
1.
Crimson's right back. Oh, God.
Move out of my damn way. Look at these guys. Look at these guys.
Missed.
No, please. You just screwed me up, dude.
Push aside.
I'll try one more time.
Welcome to the battle race.
Right.
3,
Man, where is he right here? I wanna.
1.
That's roadkill. Roadkill's.
Crimson.
Move, Grimson. Look, I freeze him and it doesn't even matter. Look, freeze did nothing to him.
Gate.
Wow. Wow, look at his health. Look at us driving.
Special weapon available.
Oh, hell no. Like, I'm getting freaking blown away.
Gate missed.
There we go. Oh, he just health regens. Wow. Oh, he's frozen, he's frozen, he's frozen. And then he unfreezes. Wow. AI cheating much? Real though? It's like that?
Gate missed. Special weapon back online.
Oh my dear. Look at this.
Missed a gate. Missed 5.
All right, guys, give me 1 second, okay? We're gonna do the BRB real quick. Hold on, got some stuff going on. Hold on. All right, guys. The rage was real. The rage was real. All right, so what I'm gonna do is give me 1 second, guys. I do have to end this recording real quick, so that way when I upload this, so that was interesting. You know, where the heck is it? Yeah, I don't think we're doing too well right now, guys. We might have to just call it for another day. We'll see. Hold on, give me a second. Oh no, we're having issues. This is bad. Wow. I guess I'll be right back.